Breaking news on Sportscenter. Kevin Connors, Chris Hassel with you. Ronda Rousey in Los Angeles. It took all of 13 seconds for her to armbar. Cat Zingano wins by TKO, her 11th win in 11 fights. She's now 5-0 as UFC champion. So a first-round submission in the women's bantamweight title bout. We've got Chael Sonnen, Gilbert Melendez with us here. All right, guys, 13 seconds. I mean, it was that quick. What stood out to you about the efficiency with Ronda Rousey tonight, Chael? Well,
listen, her opponent, who's generally a slow starter in Cat Zingano, came out, rushed the ring. They ended up in a huge scramble, and Ronda found herself on top. This is something she's used to her whole life. She's got 2 Olympic appearances under her belt. This was prime judo as I saw it.
Yeah, I agree as well. I mean, you know, Cat Zingano didn't give herself a chance. She came in, blitzed in, fell right into Ronda Rousey's trap. You know, she wanted to be on the floor. She was there, and she got an armbar.
We know Ronda Rousey is one of the female stars, if not the preeminent female star in UFC. Is it that she's that much better than everybody else? Is she that great a champion, or is it that the rest of the competition isn't where she is right now?
I believe she's just that far ahead of the curve, and she takes pride in that. She says, I've been training since 11 years old to be an Olympic gold medalist, and then she joined MMA, and she takes pride in being ahead of the curve, and she said these girls are going to have to work twice as hard, or they're never going to catch her, is what she says, and that's the truth. They created this division for Ronda. People are joining this division late, and now there's too big of a gap, and it's going to take time for anyone to get as good as her.
Chael, let's talk about this, because I think it was a fair question that I asked earlier. Look, you've got to promote these fights, and there's an interest in it because, let's be honest, sex sells. Both fighters are attractive fighters. Did Zingano belong in this fight based on what she's done as a fighter?
Yes, she did. She defeated what was the #1 contender in Miesha Tate. Miesha Tate on paper, and if you were to ask Ronda Rousey, has been Ronda's toughest test to date. In fairness, Zingano was 9-0, but she only had 9 matches. By most standards, that is an amateur level of experience, but the division is still forming. There's not a ton of parity. There aren't 20 competitors in total signed worldwide. Ronda does stand out, and I think that Cat deserved her shot.
Gilbert, what's next for Ronda Rousey? If there's no one even close to her, what's next?
That's a very good question. She basically cleaned out the division at this point. There is a lady by the name of Cris Cyborg who fights in a different organization called the Victa, who is the Strikeforce champ, who beat Gina Carano at a 145-pound division. She's been campaigning to fight Ronda Rousey for so long, but she can't make the weight of 135 pounds. She says she can make it, but she said this multiple times, but she's the only person. Cris Cyborg, look her up. She's a monster. She's a beast, but she's a weight class above. I hope they make it happen somehow.
We've got some stills of the fight. Of course, the video restrictions prevent us from showing exactly the video of how it went down. You know, I think back to when Mike Tyson was at the apex of his career, and the excitement of a Mike Tyson fight was often more exciting than the fight itself because it was so quick, and you plunked down the big money to see Mike Tyson, and as in the case of the Michael Spinks fight, 90 seconds is over. Chael, is a 13-second win for one of the marquee fighters in the sport good for the sport? Was this a good night for UFC?
Well, good for Ronda, but no. And you make a great point with the Mike Tyson exception. This was a pay-per-view problem for the outlets. They began to promise refunds if Mike Tyson's opponent didn't make it out of the first round. Ronda is not that scary power, and walking through opponents like Mike Tyson did. There's a lot of happenstance happening right now. This, for most part, was a fluke of a position. Gilbert, I've been in this sport since I was 9 years old. I've never seen this happen. I believe she just caught her, and a lot of it was because it was so early, and Cat was just too dry to slip out.
Yeah, and I think Cat Zingano is a better fighter than what she did, but she let the emotions get the best of her. She ran right in, played right into Ronda's plans. The game plan for Ronda is to try to stick and move. Do not lock horns with her. Do not engage with her. Do not give her an opportunity to take her to the ground. And that's what she did. Gave her the opportunity, and that's what happens.
What's the next big fight here on the horizon for UFC, guys?
Oh, who they want for, do you mean for Ronda, for the women's division, or just in general?
In general.
All right, in general, we got some great things going on. We even had a press conference today. John Jones is taking on Rumble Johnson. That's a little bit in the future, but right now it goes to Gilbert's weight class. It's going to be Dos Anjos taking on your partner, Anthony Pettis.
Yeah, that happens in 2 weeks from now. It's a big fight. Anthony Pettis fortunately beat me last time. Is fighting the #1 contender, Dos Anjos. An exciting matchup. These guys are going to go at it, as well as Carlos Esparza, the 115-pound women's champion, is defending her title as well. So 2 title fights coming up within 2 weeks.
All right, big night for the sport, big night for Ronda Rousey. And if you blinked, you missed it. 14 seconds, they're telling me. 14 seconds is all it took for her to defend her title. Chael Sonnen, Gilbert Melendez, thanks for joining us.
Wouldn't miss it.
Started. All right, back on Sportscenter, Kevin Connors, Chris Hassel. It lasted all of 14 seconds. Ronda Rousey defeating Cat Zingano. With an acrobatic armbar, she defends her bantamweight title. She's now 11-0, 5-0 in title defenses. By the way, her last 3 fights have lasted a total of 96 seconds. Not each fight's been 96 seconds, a total of 96 seconds. New on Sportscenter now, Cat Zingano after the fight.
She had my arm, and I saw her leg right there, and I thought to grab it and hold it, and all of a sudden I'm tapping, but it wasn't. It was in, but it wasn't in, but I want to do it again. It was in. She did it. She won. She did it. She did good. That was a good armbar. She did it.
It was the quickest victory in UFC championship history. 14 seconds is all it took for Ronda Rousey to defend her title against Cat Zingano. Take us through those 14 seconds. I'm sure you remember them all.
Actually, I do. I was thinking that Cat might try and come and jump in on me right away because so many people were telling her that she was a slow starter, and I've seen her do, try to do flying knees in the beginning. So I thought she might try to charge away because no one's ever charged me before, so they might think that might work. I was originally thinking I was going to check left hook if somebody charged, but she fell in on me, so I didn't catch her with a punch, but then the knee missed, and then we started going to the ground, and I was thinking, like, judo-wise, like, I don't want to touch my back because it's a point, which doesn't make sense in MMA, but actually ended up helping the transition because I'd never done a throw or any takedown like that before in my life. I just made it up on the spot. And then arm bar, where it was behind the arm, I was practicing that, completely facing a different direction, but I'm glad I could adapt in a really weird scramble like that.
You thought she was going to be the toughest test of your career. Were you almost hoping it would have been a closer battle, a longer battle?
Well, the better the opponent is, the better I perform. And so, since I had such a great performance tonight, I mean, that means she definitely was great because my focus was there. And she tried doing something completely different, and I'm just ready for everything, literally.
Your last 2 fights have been a combined 30 seconds. It seems like no one in the world is better at their sport than you are at yours. Are you almost embarrassed by how easy it's become for you right now?
Easy?
You make it look that way.
Oh, well, if it looks like that, it isn't really. There's so much hard work and preparation, and the months of anxiety and all those things that's really the hardest part. You know, I go to the gym and I fight every day, but it's the build-up and what it really does to you mentally that really takes a toll on you. So I'm very happy to get a rest. I'm exhausted, even if it doesn't look like I should be.
Cat Zingano only lasted 14 seconds. Who out there could give you a fight right now? Who on the horizon could give Ronda Rousey a real test, if there's anyone at all?
Well, I was really impressed with Holly Holm's performance tonight. She's a world champion boxer, and I've never tested myself against a striker of that level. And I'd be very interested to see how I measure up against a world champion boxer. And her takedown defense was amazing, and so she would present some very unique problems for me. And then also, Betcha Correa made the trip all the way from Brazil to watch me fight tonight, and she already beat 2 friends of mine before, has rubbed it in my face a lot, and she's undefeated at this point. And so, I think that her record and our background would make a great matchup as well. So either of them I'd be very interested in.
Well, you could put your entire fight tonight on Instagram and still have a second to spare. Congratulations on your win, and still UFC bantamweight champion, Ronda Rousey.
Fast, fast, fast. And there it is, putting Andrei Arlovski into second at UFC 55. He did it in 15 seconds. And Rousey's third. She beat Alexis Davis in her last fight. So very impressive. But again, who's next? Tough.
All right, Max, the coach here on
arm, and I saw her leg right there, and I thought to grab it and hold it, and all of a sudden I'm tapping, but it wasn't. It was in, but it wasn't in, but I want to do it again. It was in. She did it. She won. She did it. She did good.
Well, there you have it. That was about as long as the fight.
That interview was more painful than the armbar for me.
Yeah, laced with profanity. Real quickly, what we didn't see there, she rushed towards Ronda Rousey. If you were in Cat Zingano's corner, what would the strategy have been?
Well, the strategy is obviously to stick and move. You do not want to lock horns with Ronda Rousey. Her best thing is the judo. Yes, she has great stand-up. We've seen the power, but the best thing to do is to try to stick and move. At least get sweatier before you engage with her so you can slip out of it. So, bad move. I bet her corner was freaking out, saying, what's going on? Why are you engaging with her? It's very disappointing that Cat Zingano didn't even give herself a chance.
Yeah, if she dragged this out, then even if she lost, perhaps a rematch would seem appropriate, but certainly not under these circumstances. But what did Rousey do here that impressed you even more than she has in the past?
This is very tough. Ronda does two things really well. She takes people down. In this case, it was a bit of a reversal, but she got top position, and she stretches their arms out. The two things that are her most dominant weapons, she employed them both in less than 13 seconds. This was a bit of happenstance, but it wasn't a fluke, Max.
Not indeed. And really, if you look at Rousey, a victim of her own success, because she has ripped through the bantamweight division, and the question that comes to mind, what's next? What can she possibly do to keep her as viable as she is right now?
Well, she definitely cleaned out the division. We saw Holly Holm was someone that we thought she fought in the co-main event against Raquel Pennington, but it wasn't a performance that earned her a title shot, I believe. There is a person by the name of Cris Cyborg. She fights in Invicta. She's a 145-pounder. Her and Ronda have a feud going on for a long time. She was a Strikeforce Women's Champion. She defeated Gina Carano, and she keeps saying she wants to drop down on 135s. No, she's a big woman.
Big drop.
I don't know if she can do it, but that's the only fight that I see giving Ronda Rousey a challenge.
So that's one fight on the horizon, Chael. So if you want to keep, and she's huge, because this was not the best UFC card, to put it mildly, by a long stretch. How do you keep her involved? What, do you have to get gimmicky here for UFC to make sure Ronda Rousey is main eventing or co-main eventing cards?
Well, parity is very tough, and as far as a main event draw, I don't know what her numbers are. They did sell out the Staples Center tonight. That was a big difference from the last time she made Rousey. Because of Ronda. That was a surprise. They still did a $2.3 million gate. That means that her mainstream appeal is also coming to the hardcore fan. I think that's very good, but they lack parity in this division. Holly Holm was a miss tonight. I would go so far as to say it was a disaster tonight. So who's next? Arguably, Miesha Tate, and we've already seen that twice.
And Holly Holm, if you did not see the pay-per-view, she fought on the co-main event. She was expected, a great boxer. She won by split decision, but certainly wasn't impressive or a disaster, as Chael touched on. Gilbert, Chael, good stuff.
She was the cure for insomnia, Max.
That too.
Are we still recording?
Yes, we are. Coach?
I'm just